Welcome to the call, guys. Super excited. I got one of my mentors in this business, Trey Honeycutt. Trey, I can't believe I've been in FFL for 7 years now. And I remember when I first started and I heard you speak, and I was like, dude, Trey makes it seem so, one, doable, and two, he just pours belief into everybody that he talks to. And I think, Trey, that's probably why you've done so well building a team over the years and having the longevity in the space to continue to do what you do. So Trey, appreciate you being on, man. And I'd just like to kind of hear from you, man, what you've done to kind of just stay so long and have such high success in the space.
Well, thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. That was
Absolutely.
a um I love you too. That is awesome. Um, it's been amazing to watch Josh and Alondra and their rise to success and just how much how hard they've worked and how much they've poured into their team and how much they've believed in everybody and how hard they've worked the whole time to just continue to do the right thing. And I think the short answer, what's the key to longevity in the business? It's just doing the right thing. It's like there's no other business in the world that will reward you for doing the right thing more than this business will. Like time either exposes you or promotes you. And the biggest test that we have in this business is the test of time. Like who's doing it right by who stays around. Because a lot of people can shortcut it. There's you can pay attention to leaderboards. I mean, that's one thing I learned early on. It's like there's a guy early on. He's on the leaderboard. He's at the top of the leaderboard. He's doing 10K a week. Where's that guy now? I have no idea. I wasn't doing 10K a week. I was lucky to make like a sale every now and again. Like it took me a long time just to get the fundamentals down and the basics and to get my footing. And I learned early on, like the kiss of death is really comparing yourself to other people because there's always a story behind the story. That's the other thing you got to realize. Like it takes 20 years to become an overnight success. Some people come to the starting line in a much different position than you are right now. But the thing I know is if you're consistent and persistent about the activity, there comes a point where it's a probability, not a possibility. It becomes a point where success is inevitable because after a certain period of time, there's only so many problems you can run into. Like there's only so many things that could go wrong. And anybody that's been really successful at FFL has gone through all the things that could go wrong multiple times usually. And so the trick to it is just simply to outlast people with a good attitude. That really is it. Like what's the trick to longevity in the business? Outlast people with a good attitude. Don't sit around sucking your thumb talking about how bad it is with a bunch of other people sucking their thumb talking about how bad it is because somebody's making it work. And we talk a lot about philosophy and mentality and attitude and how important that is. And I don't want to ever take away from that because some people go, oh, they're doing that philosophy stuff again. Just tell me the phone script. And I'm telling you, like, it's not the phone script. It's not what you say. They're okay. Like, you can't be like, hey, you should look at it. You want to buy it? Like, okay, that's probably not going to work. But if you make enough phone calls, that will work. If you do the activity long enough, you'll get some sales by doing it that way because there's people that will freaking buy it no matter what. And yeah, dude, it's 10% skill set and 90% mindset. And of that 10%, the 10% of the skill set is the phone. That's what it is. Like you do this long enough, you realize that the clients, they don't get together and have Zoom calls on Thursday morning, try to give you better objections. Like they don't have that. We always have the upper hand when it comes to this. And what's new is old. Like the foundation of this business really hasn't changed. Like I think the topic today was like the new way to build a big agency, right? And I don't know if you have questions, Josh. I just kind of just started talking.
No, rip, Trey, rip.
Interrupt me if I get off track. But I think the topic was like the new way to build an agency. And it really took me back to for those of you who are new and you haven't been here a long time and phone sales is all you know, that's really a blessing. Um, but for those of us who didn't do it via phone sales, that's also a blessing too, because our perspective is correct. when it comes to the business. And perspective in this business is really everything. There's an agent that's killing it right now on the team, and I won't say his name because I'm going to share something kind of personal. I don't want everybody to know all his business, but me and Steven had met with him, and I said, "Man, why do you think you're going to be good at this?" And he goes, "Perspective." And I go, "Explain what that is." He goes, "Well, I have a family member," and he talked about his family member, and he talked about what had gone on in their life and how that affected their family and how that was a main part of like his day-to-day way of thinking and philosophy. And as he retold that to me, I'm going, yeah, he's going to do really well, because if people tell him no, or they hang up in the middle of the conversation, or they change their mind, like he's not going to just wither away and run away. Like, he's actually gone through some stuff. And that's one of the things you'll see in this industry is the people that are wildly successful are people that have been through some stuff. That's a blessing. It didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And people that understand that and have that perspective, like, as bad as this ever is, it's really not that bad. Like, for me, I didn't have a whole lot of options. I remember one time years ago, I picked up Sean Mike at the airport in Vegas. And my job was to take him to the MGM Grand. So however far that is from the airport, we're in the car and he's doing this. He's kind of freaked out. I go, "Sean, what's wrong?" And he goes, "Bro, can you even see?" And I go, "Yeah, I could see." And he goes, "This insurance thing has got to work for you because you cannot drive Uber." And I realized he's right. like, I actually couldn't drive Uber. I don't have a lot of stuff that I can fall back on. So, but compared to everything else I ever did in my life, this wasn't that bad. Like, I just maintained the right perspective about it. The thing about going in the field and now doing it on the phone, the thing that you realize is it's it's the same amount of time. It's the same amount of time. If you spend the same amount of time that Josh and Alondra spent going to the airport, flying to Hawaii, running appointments 4 days a week, investing in leads heavily like they had to do, the cash flow that they needed to invest in the leads, to get the people, to call the people, to set the appointments, to see the people, and the time. If you put that same energy and focus into phone sales, even though you're sitting on Zoom with your friends and making phone calls and getting rejection quicker, but are you really getting rejection quicker? Like, rejection before, here's what rejection was before. I get some leads. I have to go to Idaho because there's no leads where I am. So I get an Airbnb that may or may not have had hidden cameras in it. I'm still not sure about that. Hopefully not. And I go to Idaho and I call my leads that afternoon and the day before I go to book 3 days worth of appointments. And when people aren't showing, I'm calling my leads to make sure I have appointments while I'm there. The first one I show up to that I was sure was the best appointment in the world doesn't answer the door, even though I know they're inside. The next one is an hour away in the neighboring county because I didn't know the area that well. So I book it an hour away. So I got an hour drive. I get there, I get to the house, it's a one-legger. The next three don't show up. I sell my fifth one. By the time I get to my sixth one, the fifth one called me to cancel. I'm I'm an hour late to my last one, and I sell two policies in that house for $3,000. And I'm like, yes, insurance is awesome. Then the next day, nobody shows up, and it really, I was questioning the meaning of life. Then the next day, I go 6 for 7, and I'm like, I can live to fight another day. I can make my payroll. And then I get on the plane, and I get back to California just in time to schedule my next trip. That's what it used to look like. Now, compare that to like getting enough leads for a few dollars a piece from Facebook ads. You call people, they say, "I didn't request the information." They always say that. I say, perfect. I'm the guy they have call for the people that didn't request it. And then I just go on with the phone script. It really does work though. Um, but but what you realize, like on phone sales, if you can get them to get a pin, that's the hardest part. Just get them to get a pin. They write down your credentials. Now it's just like any other sale. It's just the beginning of it. The same people that you can't get past or want you to call back and set an appointment for later are the same people that used to set appointments with you in the home that you would drive an hour to that wouldn't answer the door when you got there. They were just trying to get you off the phone. You still have those ones. So really nothing is different. If you put 40 hours a week into this, calling people to talk to them about insurance or setting appointments to talk to people about insurance, there's no way that you can't be wildly successful doing phone sales. But the challenges are sort of different than the challenges in the field because most of your time is in front of a screen and you're at your house. And one of the things I learned early on in the business, because I was like, I'm not, uh, I don't know how to say this. Like people used to say all the time, they'd be like, yeah, I can't dial from home because I just get so distracted. I got to clean the house and I got to do laundry and I got to wash the cars, and then like the spare bedroom needs painting. And they come up with all these like productive things. And I'm thinking, well, I just watch television. You know, y'all are way too productive. Like, get to the problem. Look, it's the way for me. Like, I'm not trying to do laundry. I'm just not doing anything. Am I the only one? I just watch reruns of Dateline. That's literally what was going on. So the difference now is you have to put things in place to create structure and accountability throughout your day. And you got to put yourself out there. Because what I used to be able to do is like before I had an office, I would get in my car and I would drive to the park and I would dial from the park. Because at the park, there was no distractions. So what I learned from my buddy Dom is he's like, the first thing I had to do is get myself a separate cell phone that nobody had the number to. And I didn't have Facebook and I didn't have Instagram. And I didn't have anything on there. And when I went to my room to make the phone calls, I made the phone calls. When I went to the office to make the phone calls, that's the phone I used for the phone calls. The only people that had that phone number were clients. I was like, that's a great idea. Learning to limit your distractions, learning to embrace accountability in an environment that keeps you close to the fire. This is really, really hard to do when you do it by yourself. That's why Zoom works so well. People say all the time, they go, well, I get on the Zoom and everybody's quiet. Well, fix it. If you're new, get on the Zoom, unmute yourself and go, hey, I'm new. I'm going to dial leads right now, okay? So if y'all hear me say anything stupid, help me. That if you do that, there's a gazillion people on your Zoom that are excited to offer help, guidance, and support that sell a lot of insurance. Like one of the things that the leaders at FFL have in common is they're quick to change the environment when it's wrong. Like they aren't waiting on somebody else to do it. Like if you don't like the Zoom, make the Zoom better. If it's not serving you, make it serve you. It's a tool for you. Now, don't be upset if you get on the Zoom and you don't make phone calls, you don't call clients, and you want to talk about, you know, Americo Eagle Select 2, whether or not it takes somebody who has gout. Like I don't care about that. Like make phone calls, use Life Center to tell you what to write, and then submit your apps through there. By the way, everybody submit your apps through our Life Center. Um, so hopefully that makes sense. I mean, in those ways, the business hasn't changed at all. And one way that I can tell you that a lot of us got off track, not a lot of us, the way I got off track, I'll talk about how I got off track. I forgot that this is the people business. So one of the things that I've embraced recently is just this idea that like we get together, we dial together. We do these lock-ins. I do a lock-in every 2 weeks, and I've learned so much, so much about telesales from doing those lock-ins. Because what I've learned is that resourceful people do resourceful things, and they may not communicate it with everybody else. So some of the best practices that I've learned this year have come from just showing up to lock-ins and watching top producers do top producer stuff. Like I was in a lock-in in San Antonio, and all y'all should do this. There's this kid there, Trevin. He'd only been in the business like 2 months. He was already writing 20K in 2 months. Everybody's like, how do you do that? Like 19, he's doing really good. So he calls this lady and she hangs up on him like immediately. Like he gets to the phone script. This is why I'm calling her. She hangs up on him. So he goes, take my picture. And in the picture, he goes like this. So I take the picture. And then with his phone, and then he texts the lady and he goes, this was my live reaction when you rudely hung up on me for doing my job. Does that mean you don't want the insurance? And I go, that's really interesting. I wonder what's going to happen. She texted him back and she said, I'm sorry. I do want it. It's just a bad time. He goes, when's a better time to talk? And he scheduled an appointment. Now, some people hear that. They go, well, that's goofy. Goofy wins. You go a long way on the telephone with goofy. Like when you match people's energy, like another lock in, this guy Jermaine, dialing on speaker. That's the thing about lock ins is like nobody can, you can't mute out. Everybody sees what's going on. He calls this lady 3 times in a row because we're like, call 3 times in a row. On the third one, and this never happens, by the way, but it's kind of funny. On the third one, she answers and she goes, what? And he goes, I don't know. What? Just like that. And she goes, who is this? And he goes, this is Jermaine. I'm just doing my job. You requested this information. Do you want to talk about this now or is it a bad time? And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I want to talk about it now. And I swear he sold the lady. So just being comfortable enough to match people's energy and to have fun with it. When you're isolated by yourself in your room talking about how bad it is and the leads don't work, all leads work. All leads work. Jose on your team, Jose Patino, okay. He calls the leads everybody says don't work. He calls the silvers from the lead center. And he's just better at it than everybody else. Really is what it is. I mean, he's just better at it. He knows when to pause. He knows when not to pause. He knows what to say when they say what they say. He dials fast. He 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 he's good at it. He's honed his skill. It's not the leads, it's you. It's not that the leads don't work, it's that people don't work. The other thing I learned at all these lock-ins, Josh, is the number one producer every single time is the one that dials the whole time and doesn't talk to anyone. It's uncanny. People go, well, so-and-so did it because they have a dialer booking their appointments. No, so-and-so did it because he didn't talk to you the whole time. He was just calling leads. And different styles, different lead types, different phone scripts. I've seen it all. But the one thing that the top producers have in every single lock-in is they're the ones that don't get distracted and they dial the most. And they're the ones that go the extra mile. We did one in Birmingham, and Heather Robeson was getting killed. Like she was having the worst day of anybody. People were mean. They hung up her all day. She couldn't even get halfway through the opening of her phone script. And dude, she just kept a good attitude. Everybody went to dinner because we're like, oh, we're going to socialize and go to dinner. And she goes, no, I'm going to keep dialing. She found a $500,000 annuity that night and wrote it that week because she worked when everybody else went to dinner. And I'm convinced now more than ever that that is a real thing that always happens. That happens all the time. The person that does the little bit extra is the one that gets the most out of it. So you have to remind yourself of those things because that's the way it used to be in the field. You go all day. Freaking, I got in a car accident in somebody's driveway at 9:30 at night. An hour and a half late for my appointment. The wife cussed me out in the yard, and I sold it for like $440 a month. It saved my whole week. Like, like that's how it works. Like I'm convinced. This sounds sort of sacrilegious, but it's a good visual representation of what I believe is happening. I read this book. It's called A Fortune to Share, and it's by a guy named Vash Young. You can buy it on Amazon, and it was written during the Great Depression. And this guy was an insurance salesman in like 1929 in New York City. When you read that book, it's like he's an insurance salesman today. He would be a top producer today. All the stuff he says in that book that prevents people from making money is all the same stuff that we deal with right now. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I read this book, and I imagined from reading this book this scenario where like there's a group of like dead insurance agents in heaven, and they just like sit around a table and watch us and make fun of us all day to see how much we can handle. And at the end, they throw us a bone. I mean, I think that's actually what's going on because I have so many scenarios where like everything's going wrong, and then one sale turns it all around. The guy that just one more dial, a good attitude, doesn't get beat up, doesn't let it take you out of the race, and he shows up the next day with a good attitude. How many times have we seen that happen? So That's really the key to it. You got to put yourself in an environment that nurtures you, where you stay close to the fire. That's your responsibility to do it. Andrew Taylor told me the most profound thing ever in the business. He said, I was complaining one time. And he said, look, dude, he goes, because I was calling him and he wouldn't answer because he was in an appointment and he ran a lot of appointments. And I thought what I needed was super important. And he goes, listen, it's your responsibility to learn. It's not my responsibility to teach you. If you make it, it'll be because of you, and I won't take the credit. If you fail, it'll be because of you, and I won't take the blame. And that's how it works. That's how it works. And the quicker you can embrace that in this business, the better off you'll be. Like personal responsibility for everything that goes wrong is the single most liberating thing that you could have in this business. It's not the leads, it's you. The good news is you'll get better. People call me and complain about the leads. This is what I say. I go, it's okay, you'll get better. And people get super pissed off when I say that. But I think it's hilarious. The other thing I learned was if I'm going to offend people and get them to quit, I want to do it early. So I'm not really tiptoeing around. You should probably just not do it. Like if you're so burnt out over that and it's bothering you so much, like just don't do it because it's going to be harder. It is going to be harder. This isn't easy, but you got to put it in perspective. Where else, Josh, can you go and make 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 a month without a college education or being a surgeon or what? I don't even know. Somebody's like drug dealer. Dude, I don't even think I could deal drugs that good. Like I wouldn't even know where to find the customers. Like there's one park in town. I can go over there. They'd probably buy some drugs for me, but I don't know where to go after that. Like I'm sure I can figure it out, activity. But I don't think I could sell enough drugs to make what I could make in the insurance industry. And I wouldn't do that anyway. That's evil. I wouldn't do that. But I think about that a lot. Like when we talk about the size of the problems, you're paid in proportion of the size of the problems you can solve. That's how it works. And in this business, when we start talking about these huge incomes, like it's not supposed to be easy. But where else can you go to make that kind of income? That's the thing I always reminded myself of. And eventually, if I just kept going, I knew that I could figure it out along the way. I always had this belief that no matter what, I could figure it out because I would stick and stay longer than anybody else. Like I could suffer longer. And that doesn't mean you won't make money. Like you can mess this up. And if you put in the activity, you'll still make money. You'll earn while you learn because you'll find the ones that'll just say yes to it. Like they want the insurance. Like they really want it. Like they don't want to go through it anymore. They'll buy it. They don't even have to like you. They'll buy it. It can be expensive. They'll buy it. Like you could have quoted them the wrong one. Well, you can never quote them the wrong one as long as they qualify. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've noticed as of late in the business. And the one thing I'll tell you is I believe this that this is a better time to build an FFL than we've ever had. Because the way it used to work, Josh, is like for me to grow my business, like I had to I'd recruit somebody here, give them my leads, and then I'd go to Fresno, you know, 4 hours, and then 5 hours, and then I'd recruit somebody there, and I'd give them my leads, and then I'd go to Phoenix or Vegas, and I'd recruit somebody there, and I'd give them my leads. That's how we did it back then. Like I always taught this idea of warm market recruiting, but I really didn't want to recruit my whole warm market because they were all here. And what would they do? When you look at the fastest growing agency early on in FFL the first year, it was the Atlanta group. And what they did was they recruited everybody in Atlanta, but nobody sold in Atlanta. So they'd go to like Memphis and Nashville and Birmingham and South Florida and Massachusetts and Indiana. Like they would fly out every week and they would go run business. That's how they did it. But they had a huge shop that was their local that they recruited their friends and kept bringing people back. Well, now, because of telesales, we can actually do that. And people are making in overrides now what nobody even believed was possible. People are making in overrides now probably what FFL was making when they partnered with Integrity,
That's
like individual agents. And the way they're doing it is they're recruiting everybody in their backyard and they're doing phone sales together at an office. They're showing up, they're getting around the environment, they're having good conversations, they have a good attitude, they're willing to spend money, they have the right purpose and they're driven by the right things. and they just show up every day and do it and they have fun while they're doing it. We can all do that. We've never had that opportunity before where I could literally get 25 people in my local market and we can start by calling Florida at 5 a.m. and we can stop by calling Honolulu at shoot midnight. You know what I mean? Like that we've never had that before. This is the best opportunity that's ever been in the business. Access to leads, the cost of the leads, phone sales, being able to get quick turnaround on the phone, getting people to say yes or no quickly. Um, the marketing that we have, all of it's really incredible. It's never been as good as it is, and more people working together on the same page than we've ever had. The thing I've learned in this business is top producers don't keep secrets. They don't. The managers all keep secrets. They think they have all the they think
Right.
they have all the good stuff, so they don't tell nobody nothing. But you go on the producer cruise or you go on the Cancun trip, they all share what they're doing with each other. They don't keep secrets because they know the barrier to success here isn't knowledge, it's work. You can give people all the secrets in the world. I have a lead source that will teleport you to somebody's house so they can sign it. You can have all the teleportation leads that you want. But if you don't call them, you ain't gonna make no money. And that's what everybody realized. Like I give away all the secrets, but most people just won't do the work. So that's what I got.
No,
If you
you.
had any other questions, I kind of just went with the introduction. I talked for 30 minutes.
Well, first off, man, guys, I hope you're taking a page of notes. Give me a 5 if you're taking every single note that he's saying, dropping straight nuggets. And Trey, kudos to you and Steve. You guys are like the only people that I know could rip for like 30 minutes to an hour like that. So I love it. Steve said, just rip, Josh. And I'm like, dude, I can't. I'll go for 5 minutes and then I'm done. But you hit on a lot of good stuff, Trey, that, dude, it's so good because I remember back in the day, Trey, when I first started, I always wanted to go in the field with people, right? I always wanted to go sit in the home with people. I wanted to hear how they did it before I did it. And what people like don't realize now is that you get to do it with Hall of Fame producers and hear exactly what they say. The learning curve is so much faster than it used to be. Because Trey, I used to go in the home and dude, I would say stuff that I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Right. And no one would correct me. So I keep saying it until I was like, that doesn't work, right? Like I need to stop saying that. Now, like, dude, you just get on Zoom and people will correct you, not in a weird, rude way, but Josh, like, hey, instead of saying that there, say this, right? And that one tip can make me an extra 5,000 a month just from hearing what other people say and Hall of Fame producers and their schedules. Like you said, Trey, there's no secrets anymore, right? Managers, I do agree with, but for the producers, like it's an even playing field. Like they're going to tell you exactly what they're doing and you can see it. There's no running from it. Like before, I used to always be Trey. I was like, dude, what is Brittany Smart running? Like, what leads does she have? Right now, it's like, dude, just get on Zoom and hear exactly what they're saying and who they're talking to and how they do it. Right. So I think for a lot of it's a catch 22 now because I remember Trey like getting out in the field. If I had a no show and I'm 2 hours away from home, it's hard to just drive back home, right? And go take a nap or something. So for me,
Yes.
like it forced me to work harder because I'm like, dude, I'm not just wasting my gas money to come out here and waste my time. Now, like if you get hung up on, you can just click off a Zoom and go take a nap or go watch your favorite, go get caught up on Netflix. And like it's just it really proves the separators, the work between who just kind of talks about it, right? There's no more
Mhm.
like just talking about it. So I just think for you personally, what I've loved watching you do is that, and I asked Steve this too. Steve can agree. I'm like, does Trey ever have a bad day? Like Trey always seems like he's not wearing other people's beliefs. He's not letting that trickle down to his team. Like if he's having a bad day, you're always someone that I'm like, dude, Trey's just always gonna put a smile on your face and make it seem like it's never as bad as it could be, right? And Trey, I wanted to talk to you where does that come from, bro? Because like I think a lot of this attitude and activity and consistency leads work ethic, like it's all stuff we've heard before, but like doing it day in and day out like you do, where does that come from? Like how do you do that? Because I think it's easy to get a phone call from someone and it says the leads suck. Like I didn't make a sale this week. I'm gonna go start looking for, and then you just start wearing other people's beliefs. And I think that can really trickle down into your business. How have you not done that? And if you have, how have you gotten better over time in not doing that?
Well, early on in FFL, we had these meetings called Rising Stars meetings, and they did it at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut. And I got to go to one of those, and I actually went to the first one of those, and I was the person in the room that sold the least out of anybody. I don't even actually know how I got invited, other than the fact that Andrew, I think, just convinced Shaw to let me come. And in that meeting, there were a lot of people that were younger than me. And Sean said something that was really profound. And he actually pointed this out. He goes, I think me and Trey are the oldest. He goes, and for those of you who are young, the one thing I'll tell you is it's easy to get disillusioned by the idea that it's easy to make this much money. The one thing we have going for us is we know how hard it is to make this much money outside of here.
Mm.
So I had a lot of experience elsewhere where I couldn't make $40,000 in a year, much less a month or a week. you know, so so that perspective. But then the other perspective was when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and this is where I go back to like people that have gone through some stuff. So my dad, he was in way better shape than me. He was 6 feet tall. He was never over 170 pounds. Had a six pack his whole life. He was physically fit. Um, did a physical job. He was a foreman. They built houses. That was the last thing he did. But he went to bend down and pick something up at the job site, and he couldn't get back up off the ground. So we were like, "This is weird." So um, we we called, and he had a cough. So we're like, "Okay, we're taking him to the doctor." So taking him to the doctor. She goes, "Yeah, lungs don't sound good. We need to do X-rays." So they did some X-rays on his lungs. They admit him in the hospital, and they said, "Hey, you got pneumonia." And then the doctor goes, "Well, I don't know. Let's do some more tests." So they did some more tests, and they found out that behind his heart, he had two tumors on his lung, and it didn't show up on the X-ray. And then they did more tests, and they found out he had a tumor on the other lung, 13 tumors on his brain, one on his liver, one on his kidney, and one on his spinal cord. Now, my dad, they said the tumor, biggest one on his brain, was the size of an orange, and he never even complained of a headache. Right. So this totally took us all by shock. And so the doctor comes in, my mom's there, and this has been my dad's doctor forever. Like they actually were friends, not just like how people say that about their doctor. They really were friends. And she started crying. And then my dad goes, "Okay." He goes, "Well, I'm going to go outside and have a cigarette." And my mom freaks out. Okay, I'm telling you how I keep my perspective. This is how I do it. My mom freaks out. "No, you can't smoke." And the doctor goes, "You do whatever he wants now. It's not going to make any difference." And my dad actually thought that was funny. So he laughed at that after he just got told that he's basically going to die because he has cancer all over his body. So we go outside. He pulls up the little IV pole to the center of the area where the smokers go. And there's a lady there, and she's in handcuffs. And there's two San Bernardino County sheriff in the corner, and she's smoking. And she goes, "How are you doing?" And he goes, "Pretty good. How are you?" And she goes, "Well, it could be better." And then she retells the craziest freaking story. She stabbed her daughter in law. They're taking her to jail. She was in the psych ward. She's going through withdrawals from whatever drug that she was on. She'd been in and out of rehab. They were going to take the kids away. She was raising the grandkids, but now they're going to take the kids away. Her son is in jail because he caught the wife cheating on him with another person, and then he beat the guy up. And now CPS is just going to take the kids from the whole family. And she thinks she has a heart. They found a heart defect, and she can have a heart attack at any time. And I mean, she went into this crazy freaking story. It was like 15 minutes long, no joke. And my dad just sat there and he listened to her. And he's just been told he has terminal cancer, which incidentally, my dad passed away in 6 weeks, super fast. So she tells this whole story, and he goes, "Well, you have a good night." She goes, "Okay." And she walks off with the police, and she gets in the car, and they take her wherever they take her. And as we're walking back into the hospital, my dad goes, "Man, just when you think you have it bad." And I think about that every day because he was going to die. Like, that's the worst news he could have had. But he chose to have perspective and a good attitude. Like, I had a good life. I'm going to die of cancer, but that lady's life is really messed up. And that spoke more to me. And here's the thing I learned from a leadership perspective, when it comes to problems, sometimes the problem is not meant for you, it's meant for the people that are watching you. So that's why it's important for you to act right because somebody else probably has worse problems. But if they see you crumble, they're going to crumble. And so that's what it was with my dad. Like, wasn't meant for him. That was meant for me to see so that when I get a charge back, I don't cry myself to sleep at night. You know, like that was meant for me to see. So when an agent quits, I don't go, oh my God, I hate this. I'm going to go work at Starbucks. I go, I don't have stage 4 small cell lung cancer that spread to my brain in 6 weeks to live. So that's where it comes from. It comes from going through stuff that my first memory. Oh, I tell you something else. I don't usually say this. So Stephen went to my mom's funeral. So my mom and my dad passed away. My mom died of cancer, but uh she had non-small cell lung cancer. So it was slow moving. So she lived like 3 years. And she never even lost her hair. She did chemo the whole time. But I shared this story at the funeral. My first memory when I was a kid was my parents owned a convenience store and we were victims of an armed robbery. And the guys, when they came into the room, they pulled out sawed-off shotguns and pointed at my dad, and I was standing next to the Frosted Flakes, and they saw me and they drugged me to the center and put it in my face. And my dad, it freaked him out because he wasn't expecting this at all. And my mom was in the kitchen of the store, and she came out behind the fried chicken, and she sees that they have me, and they're screaming at her, and she just smiles and she says, everything's going to be okay. And she walks over to me, even though they were threatening to blow her brains out. And she grabbed me by my hand. She picked me up and she took me to the back of the store and she put me in the walk in cooler where the beer was and said, hide. Now, she could have went out the back door because it was just a simple turn to the right. But she went back to the front of the store, complied with what they said, went outside with them, refused to get in the car. And the chief of police lived across the street in Trailer Park. This is in Mississippi. So chief police lived across the street in Trailer Park. My dad called him when my mom went outside because they took the phone off the wall, but it still worked. And then as they pulled out from the trailer park behind them, set up a roadblock, and killed one of the guys in the woods, and the other two went to prison. Which, by the way, one of them works for Park and Rec in that city today, which is fascinating. But I think about that, and I asked my mom years later, and I said, "Why were you so calm? Why did you act that way? All I remember is how you were smiling." And she said, because I didn't want the last thing for you to remember if they killed me was me being sad. Like that's that's profound. So I think about that all the time and I think, God, like I'm gonna what? Go get another job because I got some roll-up debt? I'm gonna complain about my problems in front of my kids and be like, this is too heavy because I sit in my air conditioning house and make phone calls. Like, it's none of it's ever that bad. There's people that do way more for way less money, way longer than you, and somehow we just lose perspective of like how good we actually got it. Like, there is not a problem in this business you cannot solve with a $10,000 week, and there's not a problem in this business you can't solve with 5 new writers. Not any problem. So that's where it comes from.
Dude. Sheesh, Trey, I appreciate you, man. And again, guys, I hope you guys got something out of this like I did. And guys, I always remember Trey. I think every time I hear you say this, man, and it hits home every single time. But it's so simple. Be here a year from now. I remember you always saying that, and that was something that stick with me because I was like, that I want to be the person that's here for a year from now. When Trey was saying it, I knew he was speaking to me because I'm like, there are days when I wanted to hang it up, Trey, where I'm like, dude, this business does suck. I'm feeling bad for myself. But I would always remember little things like, dude, what else? Like other people are grinding out in the Bakersfield heat. They're out in the oil fields. Like getting oil all over them, and it's 120 on the rig, and I'm over here complaining about driving to people's houses. You know what I mean? For you, Trey, it's your parents going through hell and back on things, and your dad passing away, and it's like, dude, I'm gonna complain about, some getting a chargeback or someone quitting my business, and it's back to me now. So it's just like the perspective in life and in business, it really correlates. Because it's like if you don't fold when times are tough, you're not going to fold in this business either. And there's nothing that's going to pay like this business. Like you said, Trey, I got 32 credits at Bakersfield College, bro. There's nothing else I could do outside of this. You know what I mean? And I think keeping that perspective is what keeps you fresh in this business. And it's okay to have a bad day, a bad week, but if you keep showing up, man, it's hard to not succeed and get people to run with you. And Trey, you said something too. Tell one new person about FFL every single day, and your business will grow. And again, that's something that always stuck with me, guys. So again, little things that'll keep you consistent, keep you fresh, and keep you winning in this business. But it's so true. So Trey, I appreciate you, man. Any last words you have for the team? But thank you so much for hopping on. And dude, again, I always appreciate hearing from you.
Well, the last thing I'll say is you guys are part of the best team. Like really, like Steven, Josh, Alondra, the other leaders in the group, like they're there every day. They're still doing the business. They're super approachable. They're easy to reach. They're resourceful. They're always looking out for y'all, always trying to find solutions to problems. They're not sitting back on their laurels waiting for things to change. They make things change. And you guys are lucky to have that. Not everybody has that in FFL. This is a super engaged team where the leadership plays a huge role day to day and cares because Steven and Josh and Alondra, they don't really have to do anything anymore. I mean, I don't even like saying that because if you don't do anything, you won't be happy. So that's a secret. So if you're not engaged and actively doing something, you'll be depressed. And the way to not be depressed is to work every day. So they do benefit from working, but they don't. There's a difference between wanting to do it and having to do it. And when you have somebody that wants to help you, that they don't have to help you, that's a huge benefit. And that's something that you should never take for granted. So you guys are in the right place with the right people at the right time with the right system. You put in the right amount of work and you do it long enough, it's inevitable. It has to work for you.
Trey, appreciate you so much. Guys, give Trey some love in the chat. And last thing I want to say too, guys, it's Thursday going into this weekend. There were so many people ripping it on Memorial Day Monday when everybody else was taking off, guys. That's how you get ahead in business. And that's how you really, when other people see you doing that and you're leading from the front, guys, that's how you build and set the tone for what you want to do in this business. So kudos to everybody working when everybody else isn't working. And guys, same thing Saturdays and Sundays. If you're not where you want to be or that business, that bank account doesn't look like how you want it to look, guys, don't let your foot off the gas, man. That's the best time to sell. That's when people are happiest, Trey. We're watching Netflix on the weekends that are willing to take a call. You know what I mean? So guys, have a huge day, have a huge weekend. We'll get back on Monday with another great call. But guys, make sure you get out to the Ignite event. And I look forward to hearing and seeing from everybody. So have a great day, Trey. Thank you again so much, man. Appreciate your time.
But good one.